Diaries of a Madman. Written by What Must I Do? Chapter 3. Just Say No. Part 1. Since Luna was too much of a drama queen to even walk me home, I did the job myself, quickening my steps so I could get back to the warm embrace of the treehouse. Since most of what we did was just a circuit around town, it didn't take me long to get back. When I quietly opened the door and let myself back in, a rather blushed Twilight walked down the stairs to greet me.
"How did your date go?"
she asked, a strange hitch in her voice. That's you. First, she's a princess. Second, she's a horse. Third, I barely even know her. And finally, why are you all blushed? When I mentioned her face, the red stain across it spread even farther.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I furrowed my brow, looking more closely at her. Every part of her body seemed rather tense and her tail was held low against her. Are you feeling all right? I asked.
Just tired. I was, staying up to make sure you got back. Yep, that's what I was doing all right.
Can you be any more obviously lying? Uh-huh. Well, I'm back. You can go to bed now.
Right.
She didn't move for a few more seconds, and we just stared at each other.
Oh, yeah, bed.
Her horn lit up and she suddenly disappeared, going to who knows where else. Ponies are fucking weird. I sighed to myself, shaking my head. Now, what to do until I fall asleep? The next day, I decided it might be wise to check up again on Rainbow Dash, to make sure she still wasn't feeling hungover. I knew it was unlikely, but I figured it was probably a good idea to check. It wasn't until I got to her house, however, that I remembered it floats, and that I can't fly. I was thinking about trying to get her attention, wondering if a rock would fly through her house or potentially damage something, when I heard a loud trundling behind me, followed by a yelled warning of, "Look out!" I quickly twisted around and saw what was coming, and just barely jumped out of the way in time. Of course, I muttered, picking myself up off the ground. It would be Pinkie Pie who managed to lash onto a runaway wagon of all things. I saw Fluttershy trying to catch up, alongside Scootaloo on a little scooter. I still don't know why they made scooters in this world. It makes no sense. Fluttershy stopped next to me to make sure I was fine. I watched the filly pass saying, "Scootaloo? I could have expected. Pinkie Pie? Yeah, no stretch." But with them past, I turned to Fluttershy. But how did they rope you into this, Fluttershy?
They asked for a responsible pony for something. I didn't know what at the time. Could you please help us?
I sighed and started running to catch up to Pinkie Pie. How is she even still going on that fast? There isn't an engine on that thing and the ground is relatively level. Scootaloo answered.
We built a ramp way back somewhere. A very big ramp. Also, what's an engine?
Never mind. Far be it from me to give those irresponsible little girls something like an engine. How are we going to stop her before she crashes into something bigger than she is?
I don't know, but being a rescuer shouldn't be this hard. Can you see if I have a cutie mark?
Only at Equestria does a girl ask you to check out her ass. Nope.
That just means I have to actually catch up to her.
With that, Scootaloo put on an extra burst of speed. It was hardly an athlete back on Earth, and I hadn't done too much exercise since I got here. Hell, I barely managed to keep up with Fluttershy. Damn kids. How did you manage them? I asked her.
Oh, I'm just good with falls. You know how it is.
Whatever. Hey, looks like Pinkie Pie's slowing down. Pinkie, thankfully, managed to stop right in front of a large lake near the forest. I often wondered what it would be like to dive into that thing, but when I asked the Cutie Mark Crusaders about it, they got pale and changed the subject. Fluttershy and I finally managed to catch up to the two of them. Scootaloo was showering Pinkie Pie with a mix of accolades and admonishments, while Pinkie Pie was trying to get to the ground legs back after that hellish ride. So, I said, what was the purpose of that again? Scootaloo said,
We were going to put Angel in the wagon and push him down the ramp. Then I was supposed to chase after him and quickly catch him, hopefully earning an animal rescue cutie mark. Applebloom and Sweetie Belle were supposed to try to calm him down and make sure he was okay. Instead, Pinkie Pie was walking by, saw the wagon, thought it looked like a roller coaster, and jumped in. We didn't plan the ramp very well, obviously. You're going to do what with Angel?
Fluttershy asked, obviously somewhat disturbed. I noticed then she was actually still holding him protectively, despite his violent protests. I held out my hand for a quick bro fist bump with the guy. He obliged. Say what you want about his size, that little dude was okay sometimes. But only sometimes, as I later found out.
We weren't going to hurt him,
Screwloot protested. Fluttershy started to reply, but Pinkie Pie interjected.
That was fun. Can we do it again? Oh, hi, Navarone. How was your experiment with Rainbow Dash and Applejack?
It went better than expected, actually. Though I wouldn't bring it up to Rainbow Dash. I doubt she'll remember it fondly. I was actually on my way to check up on her when I was interrupted by a runaway pony.
Well, that's rude. Some pony needs to learn to control his or her speeds.
Typical Pinkie. Ignore the obvious in favor of the silly. I suppose we should get this wagon back to the ramp. I sighed. I think the girls wanted to try an experiment of their own.
Not with any of my animals, they won't,
Fluttershy said.
If that wouldn't be a problem.
Scootaloo sighed.
Fine. We can be human rescuers instead.
That got my attention. Wait, what now? Several bruises and no cutie marks later, I found myself wandering the marketplace. The market had none of the hubbub of a busy bazaar, or any of the markets that I'm used to back on Earth. There was no music playing in the background, very little muted speech going on, and all the speech that takes place sounded happy. It's like a happy memory of what the 1950s small-town America would be like. The only difference is that I'm the communist here, and I'm not your neighbor or your best friend. But rather, I'm the outsider, the one everyone can tell doesn't belong just by looking. It was disquieting in a way, though I knew now that ponies were all used to me. They managed to get used to Spike and Zecora, so thankfully it didn't take most of them long to stop staring at me. But I digress. I was walking along the marketplace, looking for a small amount of wares available. Ponyville is not a large place at all, so there really wasn't much to look at. A few pieces of furniture, a small number of antique books, a few cloth stores, a doodad shop, and many food places. Even if there was anything I'd want to buy, I had no money in which to buy it. All the cash I had was defunct. All the plastic I had was worthless. Coins from some small value, but gold, in the form of bits, appeared to be the common denomination here. I don't render any real services, nor do I have the right to say I'm a personal student or friend to the beloved princess, even if I knew I was a friend to the lesser-known princess. In short, I was dependent on Twilight. It was not a comforting feeling. I wandered through the marketplace thinking of ways to earn my keep. I had enough ideas from Earth to become a writer, but no pony would want to or need to try to read through a political treatise or any of the books I typically read back home. If I could become someone to pay bounties, I could become a hunter. There are enough dangerous creatures out there for the job to pay well. I would also become a guide through the forest, or I could collect herbs and ingredients. It would be a dangerous job, and a job that not many ponies would really want to pay me for, but it could be profitable. There's also the very, very useful fact that I have thumbs going in my favor. Anything a pony would want to grasp would have to be done with their mouth or with magic. That pretty much makes my use nearly infinite. Infinite if I could make ponies stop fearing me so. And there's also the possibility of remaining tethered to Twilight. Spike and I had different uses of her. He's good for manual tasks and being a guinea pig. He's very resistant to both magic and physical problems, and has survived more than one magical accident that would have seared me to the bone. I, however, am a thinker. I have helped Twilight troubleshoot through some broken spells already, though the actual mechanics behind them remain hidden to me. Or I could become a wanderer, an adventurer. This world is vast and seems mostly peaceful, though much of it has been unmapped by ponies. Oddly enough, what I have seen of it shows me that this world is very, very like my own. With that knowledge, I can assume that riches can be found in the same places. Gold in California, diamonds in South Africa. It would be an interesting life. Then there's inventions. But I am not entirely certain that I want to bring some of the things humans had to this world. This land is peaceful, its inhabitants kind. Why bring artifacts of war and danger into the world? Although there are plenty of non-warlike inventions. This world only had the weakest engines, and Pegasi means no one really developed flying technology beyond balloons. I could create a vastly more successful Hindenburg, or a plane. Given oil supplies though, a steampunk-style invention process would be easier. Though those thoughts were suddenly put on hold when a distracted and heavily laden Rarity bumped into me. Hardly breaking stride, she said,
Pardon me, sir, but you simply must learn to watch where you're going.
She didn't even see me. Probably just guessed the gender and hoped to be right. Rarity, do you need some help? I asked her.
What? Oh yes, these are awfully heavy, and you do look like a fellow who could carry some weight.
I couldn't tell if that was an insult, so I just took some of the cloths from her back.
Now do be careful with that. It's going to be a dress fit for a princess soon.
As I've mentioned before, I know nothing of fashion, but if some of the things I've seen come out of her shop are considered fit for a princess, I'm glad I avoided the industry. I'm sure it's probably all good, but a lot of it just looks impractical to me. So I shrugged and tried to look impressed by her admonishment. She apparently bought it because she started off back to her shop. I followed, trying, despite myself, to figure out what she was going to make with this batch of cloth. A dress or gown of some kind, of course. I've never seen her make clothes for men, aside from that special commission for me, to keep me from wearing the same tattered clothes day after day. Rarity, if you ever get a bit of free time, would you mind seeing if you could somehow make shoes for me? What I have now won't last forever, and I wasn't blessed, or cursed as my case may be, with hard feet.
Shoes? What's that about shoes? I don't have time to think about shoes at a time like this. I'm going to be absolutely swamped for days. When will I learn not to bite off more than I can chew?
Probably when you finally fail to finish an order. She liked to complain and liked to tease her about it, but to Rarity, dresses and fashion are an art, not a career. She is very, very good at it, and is very, very dedicated. I've heard from Sweetie Belle that she occasionally stays up days at a time to work on an order. In my opinion, her cutie mark thing should be a thread and needle, but apparently whoever decides those things figured diamonds was better. There was a time that I would have made a joke about something being pretty, but ultimately useless. But I'd like to think I'm over that. When we arrived at her shop, I found the place in a complete disarray. To my apparently untrained eye, as Rarity put it, everything looked like it was balanced on the edge of falling, awaiting only a sudden movement to break into total bedlam. To Rarity, it implied a job well on its way, a job that was missing only its mistress, who had stepped out for a short break. I gently set the bundle of cloth where she indicated, and wondered where I should try to back out slowly before she remembered I was there, or try to offer any more help. My mind was made up for me when she turned suddenly, saw me, started and said,
Oh, hello, Navarone. You wouldn't mind helping me with a few more tasks, would you? I promise they won't take too long.
Oh, Lord. I'm not Spike, so I won't be willing to do anything you ask, but what do you need? Her answering smile was enough to make me want to grind my teeth. It said, I know what you think you're doing and it's cute. I managed to answer back with my own smarmy, bring it on smile.
Well, you see, my cat, opalescence.
I'm not clearing out a litter box.
Would it help if I said please?
My flat stare answered that for her.
Well, that's not the only thing I needed help with. I was also wondering if you'd be willing to supervise the girls while I'm busy with this project. I've heard how they talk about you. You're an enigma to them, and they had many ideas how to use you to get their cutie marks. I know you're often busy helping Twilight or one of the others, but if you have the time, maybe you could help me?
I already have a few bruises from some of their plans involving me today. Are you sure I'd survive anything more they have in store for me?
Oh, I'm sure they wouldn't be too much of a problem for the most dangerous creature alive, she said with an amused titter.
You see, it's the alive part I'm worried about, I sarcastically said. I'd like to keep it that way, but their human rescue plans seem to desire to put my life at risk.
So that's why they were building a ramp. I was wondering what they were planning to do with it.
How did they even build that damn thing anyway? None of them can do magic that I've seen. None of them have thumbs. And I've heard Fluttershy talk about their less than stellar carpentry skills and pants too. How the hell did they build a giant ramp in the middle of town?
Well, No Pony says they had to build it well. I'm sure the rescue part of the plan would cover fall damage as well as runaway cart problems.
You're not making me any more eager to help you with this, you know, I said, crossing my arms.
You hardly seemed eager to begin with, Nav.
Yes, and I'm about half the words you seem to say confirm I was right in my initial conception of the idea. From everything I've seen with the girls, they hardly need watching over anyway. They don't listen to half of anything anyone tells them, so it would hardly help to have someone like me around. It would only tell them off half the time for stuff they're doing wrong.
I think you're stretching it, Nav.
You're not making me want to say yes anymore. Why me, anyway? I know you said they were hoping to experiment on me, but surely there are other more responsible ponies you could leave with them, like Fluttershy or Well, Fluttershy is really the only truly responsible of your main group of friends. Might be Applejack and Twilight? Well, Twilight's usually busy with studies and isn't too much of a fan of kids as destructive as they are in her library. And after that experiment with Rainbow Dash, I somewhat question Applejack's responsibility.
What happened with the experiment? Twilight told me you were doing something with her, but it didn't say what.
Oh, nothing. She raised an eyebrow, but let it go.
Fluttershy already said she couldn't. Something about house sitting? And Applejack is always busy with her trees.
It's late fall and she got harvest done early. What kind of tree is she growing now? She opened her mouth to respond, looked pensive for a second, and shut it again. Finally, she said,
So, do you want to go to ask Applejack a question for me?
Half an hour of trudging through broken leaves and fallen limbs later, I found myself at Applejack's house. Her granny was on the front porch, wadded up in a load of clothes. I asked if she knew where Applejack was.
What?
I said, do you know where Applejack is? I'll spare you the details how long it took to get this message across to the old lady. Some things are better left forgotten. When she finally understood me, she pointed right at me, and I turned around to find Applejack trying her hardest not to laugh. Yeah, thanks for the help there, I flatly said. Anyways, Rarity wanted to know if you could watch the little girls here for a little while. She's a bit busy with a big order.
I reckon I could do that for a bit, although I hardly think they need it.
See, that's what I said. Though, honestly, they do seem to have a bit of a problem thinking about their consequences of their actions. Damn near killed me. Pinkie Pie and Angel today. Until one sets get a bit more common sense, it's probably better to have someone around them to supervise them.
What kind of scheme did they think up that could have hurt a human, a pony, and a little bunny?
And the kind that involves a giant ramp and a wagon, apparently. The plan was to put Angel in the wagon and push him down, then catch up and become animal rescuers. Pinkie Pie jumped in the wagon at the last instant, thinking it was some kind of ride. I almost got run over, then somehow got roped into helping them be human rescuers instead.
Sounds like you have a hard time saying no to ponies.
She chuckled. Let's see you say no to Apple Bloom's puppy dog face, I said with a small snort.
I'm her big sister. That's my job,
she said, as she lifted her head up, closed her eyes, grinned deeply, and crossed her front legs. Psh, cheater. When I said that, she dropped her cutie little angelic stance and said,
Oh, that reminds me of something. Rainbow Dash came by earlier asking about what happened, and when we gave her that alcohol stuff. I didn't tell her nothing, but I'm thinking she might have a bone to pick with you about that comment you said about Big Macintosh.
God, I was hoping she was too hungover to remember that. I hope no one else told her anything.
We didn't say a word. I could hold back a smile, though. She probably thinks we did something.
Let her keep on suspecting. Don't mention it at all, even if she does tell you later.
I don't see why we can't talk about it. I mean, I don't see no harm in it.
The way I figure, if she hasn't told anyone, she probably doesn't want to talk about it. I'm perfectly willing to respect that. If she wants to bring it up, she will, and we can talk about it freely then. Not like it really matters anyway, unless you were planning on playing matchmaker with her.
I don't think that would go over very well.
Agreed. I was actually trying to find out Rainbow Dash this morning, but I got sidetracked by the girls and then by Rarity. But I guess if she made it here, then she's pretty well okay. I just have to try to avoid her now, so she won't be able to get me back for it.
I'm sure if she does try to get you back, it'll just be a harmless little prank. That's most of what she does. Like when she pointed at my apples. Harmless, but annoying.
True enough, I suppose, but I'd rather avoid any retribution for what I, at least considered a real experiment. It may have been hatched as an idea for a prank, but I was honestly interested in the results.
Well, that either makes you more or less honest than me. I was in it to get her back for that apple incident.
I'm sure it was well deserved, and it hopefully concluded the matter. Anyway, I should probably get back to Rarity to tell her the news before she gets completely absorbed in whatever she's doing. You know how she is.
I sure do. See you around, Nav.
While I was walking back to Rarity's house in a weak light of the fading day, my nearly worthless combat instincts, on from more time than I would ever admit playing more games than I'd ever admit, warned me to duck. Sadly, my body is not as fast as my mind, especially after beating I had taken earlier that day at the hooves of the Cutie Mark Crusaders. So I found myself unceremoniously lifted and flying through the air, held aloft by two recognizable blue legs. I swear I don't think these ponies have joints or bones in their legs. There was laughing from right above me, and looking up confirmed my suspicions.
I hope you don't mind heights, Navarone.
Rainbow yelled at me over the wind. There we go. I'll be working on a TCP tomorrow, but I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I would like to thank my wonderful donators. Thank you, Chase Lemaster, Squall Windfeather, Rainflicker, Starlight Blaze, Dreamless Portal, Tiny Equine, and Stu Hex. My Tier 2 Patreons Capt and Blue Shadow, Sword Brethren Mordred, Solus, HKH4 aka Texture, and the Animated Ghost. And of course a large thank you to the one who requested this fic, Silent Titan. I appreciate your guys' support so much and it means a ton to me. If you want other ways to support me, well, your viewership is more than enough. However, leaving a like, subscribing, and of course commenting down below for the algorithm does help a lot, and I appreciate it a ton. Anyways, this has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.